Hello, hello. Today is Friday. At least I think it is. What are we, the 10th of December, 2021? Getting towards the end of the year, everybody. My name is still Kevin Murcko. As far as I know, I am the CEO of CoinMetro. This is called an AMA. You ask, I tell. Ask me anything. I literally mean ask me anything. Most people don't necessarily go off the crypto radar, but you want to ask me, any question you want, go ahead and ask me. I'm going to try to answer it. So let's get started. As answers come in, well, if the answers came in, I don't know what we'd be doing here. As the questions come in, I will be answering them. So here we go. So this isn't really a question, but Deep Philippe, first guy in the room. So we're going to let him speak. Favorite hour of the week? I don't know what that means, Deep Philippe. Either I'm amazing or your weeks need to be more amazing. But I appreciate that. Thank you. Hello, Harold. How are you? Hello, Jet Fuel. Hello, Bobby. Deep Philippe coming in with a question. What are your plans for the coming holidays? Well, for Kwanzaa, no. So here's a side. So maybe my brother watches these every now and again. So my brother's name is Ryan. I'll tell you a brother story about that question because I think it's a funny one for the holidays. My brother was in, I believe, middle school. He decided this is right around the time when political correctness was becoming a thing again, and no one could say anything to anybody. He kind of was in the right place at the right time. He told school administrators that he was Egyptian so that he could get Egyptian holidays off from school. Now, go ahead and Google the Egyptian calendar. I think there's 280 holidays a year. And they let him do it. So I think he went to school like 12 days during like his seventh or eighth grade or something, or sixth grade, one of those, maybe seventh or eighth, I guess middle school. Anyway, coming holidays. So I'll be in Mexico for over the holidays, seeing some of my wife's family, and then just getting some sun, a little bit of vitamin D. So when I come back here to Estonia to utter darkness for a few months, I don't wither up and die. So should be good. Anything new that will be released this month? Hey, Bjorn. We always got some stuff that's going to be released, man. Actually, we are currently chatting. This is a bit of a biz dev question as well. So, I normally get the biz dev question about 4 or 5 questions in, so we'll cover that one as well. I'm not going to give you so many specifics, but I'm not sure it'll be this month, but potentially. A few things with Cadena still in the works that you'll see soon, maybe into January, but soon. Also, some things with adding to our Earn platform, some more passive income, also coming soon. I think you're going to see some updates on dark mode, light mode, and some design elements and stuff soon. You may even catch new website and maybe even some new iconography. So all that stuff coming soon. Finally back from Africa and catching the AMAs live again. Well, Bobby, I'm glad to have you here. I'm sure Africa is missing you. So shout out to Africa. All right. Any news on increasing leverage? Hey, Jet Fuel. No news on increasing leverage. We talked about this before. I do think that in the beginning, it was an inherent risk of giving too much leverage. Inherent risk, of people getting wrecked, which we don't necessarily want to happen. Well, we don't want to happen, period, because unlike other exchanges, we don't make money when you get wrecked. We don't charge you a liquidation fee of the rest of your money when you get wrecked on the platform. So we don't want you to get wrecked. So, however, there was also, we don't want the company to get wrecked. And the idea in the beginning, which I think is correct, is that when you have a small amount of people using a platform and you have a massive amount of leverage, you can end up with large negative balances, which can essentially cost the company money. So I think now at this point, it may actually reduce our risk by increasing leverage, but we have so much stuff on our plate. And I don't mean to say that just to kind of throw something to the side and not talk about it. It's true. There's lots of stuff on our plate, from putting together a new board, a management board, which we've done, to now dealing with things that growing companies have to deal with. Now talking about fundraising into Q3 of next year. Now talking about product releases, focusing on this, that, and the other, talking about 1,000,001 things. This is definitely something we want to do. I think it may come in conjunction with a rehash of the margin platform. So you guys have seen the exchange beta. You are going to see in the near future the margin beta. And I think along with not the beta release, but the release from beta, you're probably going to see something about leverage. Would it be possible to offer spot tram, no leverage, no margin buying? That's in the works, actually. That's something that we want to do. We want to be able to allow managers the option to have a margin-based or a spot-based tram offering. And that will, as well, at some point, adjust the risk rating. So we will provide a risk rating, not like CoinMetro thinks this is good or bad, but based on some, traditional finance like Sharpe ratios and things like that. We will create a risk score, and that risk score will be higher when it's a margin traded account, because margin carries higher risk by default, really. Hi, Kev. Client tried to send me XCM from his account to mine. Didn't work. Yep, doesn't work. If they try to withdraw from their balance directly to your XCM wallet, it's going to get denied. We do want to launch this an ability to transfer internally XCM. I'd love to have it before Christmas. I don't know if that's going to be possible now. We have a list of 5, 6, or 7 priorities. And right now, because of that fundraise coming in September next year, we need to focus on revenue. And this isn't really a revenue thing. It's the thing we'd like to have, and we know our clients would like to have, but it's not really a revenue generator. So it's not super priority. It's still prioritized, but not super priority. So the way to do it now is withdraw your XCM to an external wallet, move from that external wallet to someone else's external wallet, from that external wallet into their account. I know that sounds like quite the ball ache, but that's how it has to be done, at least for now. Any news on virtual IBANs? We just made the first step, actually, first micro step maybe, in getting towards virtual IBANs. That is opening up a ledger, creating an account for digital fiat, which is our EMI licensed entity. EMI, if you don't know, is electronic money issuance or institution. Electronic money institution, yes. Who issues e-money, electronic money. That's the first step. We will start to use those digital fiat accounts into next year. And in Q1 next year, we will start to offer virtual IBANs. We will do that automatically for certain clients, and we will offer the option later on for all clients to acquire IBANs. So it is in the works. We took the first baby steps literally today. Scolby, hey boss, hi boss. My KDA ballooned, but I have no exit plan. What milestone do you look at when deciding when to sell any coin? Good question. I have a lot of KDA. I haven't sold a single one. Crypto is a volatile market. I guess you probably know that already. If you bought something here and it ends up over here, well, that's called volatility. Volatility can be your friend. It can be your enemy. I think you need to look. I know a lot of people are chartists. A lot of people are going to tell you that technical analysis, that show me the chart and I'll tell you the news, those type of guys. I used to be in that camp, and I think everybody ends up in that camp when they start to trade initially, because you're looking at something that's hard to explain and you want to find a reason. You want a narrative that tells you why something happens. Lines on charts can tend to help because lots of people look at lines on charts, self-fulfilling prophecies and all those great things. I think when you're really looking at crypto in general, you need to look at fundamentals and maybe something we can call hypermentals. So one, you want to see from the hypermental side, what's trending, how many people are talking about it, how many wallets that actually exist that hold that asset. That's going to give you an idea if that expands or contracts, how much actual buy pressure may exist in the market. That's one. If you see that contract and steadily contract, and you're not in it for the long term, and you don't believe in the project maybe long term, time to take some profits. Or if you believe, taking profits is not a bad thing, everybody. If you're, from an investing standpoint, if you say I'm a hodler, and you go, look, I bought Bitcoin at 3 cents, I'm still holding because I'm awesome. I'm an awesome investor. Actually, you're the worst investor pretty much in the official, in the entirety of the world. And the reason for that is you need to take profit. It doesn't make any sense not to take profit off the board. So make sure you do take profits. Having said that, I look at, pump. I know that what's his name from, I was going to say Pumpamentals, for Christ's sake. What's his name? Richard Hart likes to say the term Pumpamentals, which I think is an acronym for fraudamentals. But this idea of looking at the hype, I think, is important. It's going to give you an idea of what's happening in the market. And then you're just going to look at fundamentals, news. who's talking about the asset? What are they saying about that asset? Are there things in the works with that asset that potentially would really explode the awareness, or big partnerships in the works, et cetera? For me, we haven't reached that with Cadena yet. I'm still holding Cadena, haven't sold a single one. It's not really about price for me. It's already done enough increase in my portfolio that I could, I could sell all of them. I haven't even taken profit. I have taken profit on other things in my portfolio. I choose to look at taking profits as a macro. So I look at my whole portfolio. I will take profits out of my portfolio where I think price action may have stalled, but that doesn't mean I take profits in every single asset. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an answer. I don't know why I just went totally. Okay, there we go. I think I'm back in focus. Do you live in Estonia? Yes, I do, Joshua. I live in Estonia. Been here almost 4 years. This is Estonia. Look, you see my office behind me, gray and dark. It's Estonia. So you should have known that without asking the question. Hope it's not too personal. Have you considered shaving your head? I have, actually. I told my wife about it. So my wife doesn't like the beard. She would tell me to shave the beard every day. Give me the evil eye. Tell me to sleep on the couch. That great stuff. But told me not to shave my head. So I don't know why. I would do it. I would have done it already, because it's pretty obvious there's nothing up there anyway. But she doesn't want me to. So, happy wife, happy life. So I haven't done it. But I will at some point for sure. I definitely won't go to Turkey to get hair implants. Anybody flown through Istanbul Airport? If you've never been, next time you fly anywhere in the world that you may pass Istanbul, just land in Istanbul and go through security. And then every dude you see with a hat on, just wait until they get to like the point where they have to, do the security check, and you'll watch them get real nervous and sweaty, and then they'll pull the hair off, and it looks like somebody just beat their head with like a pair of meat tenderizers. I don't know. Just don't take pictures because you might get mugged. But it's a pretty fun experience. Where do you buy your clothes? Well, I don't think I've ever in the last, maybe not 4 years, because we didn't have any merch right at the beginning, but pretty much into the first year of CoinMetro, I had made some merch just for myself. I don't think I've worn, except for maybe one day in the last 4 years, or 3.5 years, a shirt that isn't a CoinMetro shirt. So those, CoinMetro.store, man. Of course, these you can't get there yet, but anyway, they're there. Merch is there. Everything else online usually, to be honest. I don't really have a store in particular. But yeah, I just buy online because it's just easier. Or if I'm on vacation or something, you end up at a mall somewhere because you got nothing to do one day. You walk around. Flux listing on Binance, huge news. CoinMetro, one of the first to list Flux. Yeah, we are one of the first because we see benefit in an asset because in a company because of their vision. We don't have to wait to see them actually do something. And I think that's an important point. Not everybody can be a Binance. Big investors can wait until something's already worth $1 billion and decide, okay, now we'll put some money in, because they, if they get a 2x or a 3x, they're fine with that. But to get to have the wealth to make those decisions, you need to be early. You can't be late. And so, and that's much harder to do. Let me tell you, it's much harder to find things that are going to do great than take things that are already great. It's a pretty easy strategy. Related to Ulru's question, have you considered growing hair? Good question. I thought at some point maybe, you ever play with Play-Doh when you were a kid? You squeeze it hard enough and the hair comes out, I tried that once. I think I got an aneurysm, so it didn't work. So I've tried, yeah. I've actually never bought any of those like hair growth things, like, like chia pet seeds or anything like that. I never tried any of that stuff. In Mexico, some woman tried to sell me a candle once that was supposed to regrow my hair. Like I just lit the candle and like prayed to Lord Jesus hairdo or something. And hair would just come out of my head. I didn't buy the candle. They also had soap. I remember some lady trying to sell soap one time to me, hair growth soap. Apparently I must have bought it and bathed in it, but didn't put it on my head because, how are we standing on the physical XCM tokens? That's a great question, Bobby. It's a great question. I have no idea. Eventually we're going to get that thing over the line. but we're not there yet. And I don't know, to be honest. I don't know, because it was tossed around to so many different people. And then some of those people are no longer here. So I don't know. When do XCM Tokenomics? Good question. It's amazing, by the way. I'm telling you, it's going to change the game. It's going to ignite a fury behind XCM. I think it's going to be by mid-Jan. I think is probably when you're going to see them, because there's just not. We don't. Even if we could pack it in before there's like a Christmas break. The problem with that, I think, is that we want to make some noise about it as well. Making noise over Christmas just doesn't really make much sense. KDA staking should open Q1. Any new details? I don't have a date because I'm not the one that is going to set that date. Really, Kadena needs to open up a bridge. When they open up the bridge, then we can set a date based on how long it's going to take us to activate on that bridge. But right now, I don't know. When XCM and TradingView, I have no idea about that either, because I know people have been asking for it. I'm not sure right now it would make the biggest difference for XCM, but considering that we have an internal thing called the XCM project, which is all about more awareness to XCM, I think once that project goes live, this becomes more important. And that might even become a piece of the project, meaning getting XCM live on TradingView. But for right now, nothing in my vision as far as when that's going to happen. On the last AMA, you mentioned Brave claims to be crypto friendly. Why is that? Why do you reckon they're missing? Well, they have a token. That's it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, when you run crypto ads through Braze, they basically send you a bunch of bot traffic that's worthless. So I would hope if they wanted to actually increase awareness in crypto, they'd actually drive real traffic, but they don't. And as far as, aside from them just having a token, I don't know what else they're doing, owning a browser that really is crypto friendly, to be honest. How are the new ads going? New ads aren't fully functioning yet, though. If you guys noticed on Twitter, we now have that nice little blue check mark. I expect to have those across most social media platforms in the coming weeks. It's kind of step one. Ads are being put together. They'll probably, I would hope, start going out by next week. We mentioned 80K, spending 80K in December. Maybe that's going to leak a little bit into January. But for the next quarter or so, we're going to spend a good amount of, next 2 months, a good amount of money on testing. And then we have now cemented a bit of a marketing budget for next year. It is a range. It's based on ROI of marketing spend, but it's in the minimum 7 digits. So we're going to spend a lot of money on, comparatively speaking to what we spent over the entirety of the last 4 years. We're going to spend more than that in the first 2 quarters. Flux is getting some traction. Any progress on integrating CM into Zelcore or bringing pieces of the CM ecosystem onto the decentralized Flux network? If we were progress there, we definitely would have spoken about it. You would have heard about it. So CoinMetro, XCM is definitely inside the Zelcore wallet. CM integration into Zelcore, nope, don't have really any news for you on that. It is definitely something we are going to do. We will do. Again, we want to bring this company, which in the last funding round we did, which some of you guys participated in, we had a valuation of 60 million euros. Now, that was probably we went low on that valuation for a few reasons, but it was low. Now, the next valuation is going to be at least 4 times that much, upwards of 20 times that much. Now, for us we've already seen enough growth to where we're already at that lower threshold. We could do a fundraise today for $250 million, and we could prove that valuation based on the metrics we currently have in comparison to the metrics we had when we did 60 million valuation and our prognosis for the next 3 years. However, we want to expand that greatly. To do that, we need to focus on revenue generating products and services, not things we may think will generate revenue, but things we know will generate revenue. And so the Zelcore integration, we don't have enough information to understand, and we don't have enough information from our own client base to understand, first of all, where we would monetize, how we would monetize, and if it would actually be something that brings significant revenue and what the cost would be to do so. We have the 5, 6, or 7 things on our plate for the next 3 to 6 months. that we absolutely know from day one immediately will bring substantial revenue. And so we have to focus on those things. This is going to happen, but I can't really give you a timeline as of yet. I think later in Q1 next year, we'll be able to pinpoint a little bit more of a timeline on this one. Hiring's going good. There was a bit of a lag simply because there was other things going on in HR, but we're we have ads up. We're rocking and rolling. We did have about 1 or 2 new hires already, and I think we might have in January, right in the beginning of January, we have 2 new hires coming in as well. But I think full steam ahead next year for sure. We got a lot of goals to hit on the HR side. Are there any options of staking directly from a Ledger wallet? With CoinMetro, no, not currently. We've talked about, actually on the AMA yesterday with Credo, we talked about their decentralized MPC and the ability to do non-custodial deposits. Non-custodial deposits is a cool thing for trading. Non-custodial deposits that allow you to stake is a whole nother ball of wax, but would be very interesting. But as far as I know, and I could be wrong, I don't think there's any staking program currently that would allow you to do so direct from a Ledger wallet. I mean, leaving your assets on the Ledger wallet and staking. Not to my knowledge. Can you elaborate more on why you dislike Algorand? It is purely from first impression, or were there any reason on the technical side? It has nothing to do with in talking about their consensus methodology and how it works, I wasn't all that convinced that it was the best solution. There's a bit on the technical side. The other was, yes, first impression. And I'm big on first. I'm not, well, I can't say I'm big on first impressions, but I'm big on how someone, look, when I approach somebody, they might not know who I am, what I'm talking about, what I do, right? And there may be someone else that they're talking to that they know. Let's put a comparison. Let's say me and the CEO of Coinbase go to have a conversation with somebody. I would expect that that person treats us relatively the same way, because that's what I try to do. Whether I'm going to talk with, the CEO of a company I know we're already doing business with, we're doing great, one I really want to do business with, or one I may not want to do business with because the first impression I get is like, well, we might want to do business. That conversation is going to be roughly the same. I try to keep it the same. Why? Because you never know. As a business person, you never know if there's an opportunity across the table. So you can't close the door just because you may get a bad first impression. And I didn't close the door. We probably will list Algorand at some point. But that conversation, 2 conversations that I had with Silvio told me that I did not want to do business with him. And it was clear to me that he was there in name only. Like they hired him to be there because he won this award back in the 70s. They thought that was a good thing for them to have. I don't think he really pulls the strings at Algorand. But there was no honesty about that. And that bothered me. And yeah, it just, sometimes you don't click with people. He could be the best guy in the world. But those 2 conversations told me that me personally, I don't want to have a third. Simple as that. Amogus. Okay. I don't know what that is. What are the top priorities for CM right now? Revenue, growth and revenue, top priorities, growth and lots of different aspects, and revenues, so that we can smash that valuation next year and raise the money we need to become ultra competitive across this entire industry. When will you add Lanceria? Is that lenceria? Is that like lingerie? Are you asking me to wear lingerie in the AMA, Robbie Robo? Not sure what that is, actually. Hey, Kev, are you vaccinated? It's a personal question. I try not to get into the vaccination/political realm on this show because I really don't want to be canceled. So I try to stay as far away from that as I possibly can. I'll leave it at this. I think if they made a comedy about exactly what's happening in the world right now, and it was a comedy 10 years ago, everybody would have laughed at it, and the vast majority of people would have said, that's never going to happen. That's insane. People would be in the street, literally, I don't know, going crazy. And here we are. I did have COVID, though. I'll throw that out there. I did have COVID. Is the airdrop family going to get rolling for next listings? It eventually will get rolling. We need to be big enough to make it possible for listings to want to airdrop to the airdrop family. We're close. We're getting there. So it will happen. Wanted to know when we can stake KDA again. Ruth, KDA staking will go live again when KDA bonding reopens. KDA needs to launch a bridge that allows for bridging between another protocol. I think the first one they're going to launch is ETH. That's going to allow people to be able to bridge or move KDA to wrapped KDA on the Ethereum protocol, or wrapped KDA on the Ethereum protocol back to KDA on the Cadena protocol. When that happens, there's a revenue that's generated by those bridges. That revenue goes to pay the bonders. We are a bonder, and we pay you guys staking rewards based on those bonding rewards. We can't do that until they reopen bonding. So we were told Q1 next year. Once that happens, we'll be able to reopen the staking. Pedro, if CoinMetro were to reach a point of crazy exponential growth in the near future, how ready is the team recruitment process to rapidly handle such an event? No matter, well, I'll be honest with you guys. I like being honest. So we've already seen exponential growth. I don't know if it's not crazy yet, maybe, but comparatively speaking to where we were a year ago, 2 years ago, we've already seen some exponential growth. What I will tell you is there isn't a methodology or a company in the world that can handle out of the box crazy exponential growth. It's one of those things that people that have never been through this like to call a good problem. Just to let you know, look up the word problem in the dictionary. There's no such thing as a good problem. That's an oxymoron. All problems are bad because they're problems. I guess you would rather have the problem of we have too many clients than the problem of we don't have any clients, but there's still problems. What we do to prepare is try to move as quickly as we can. You also don't want to move too quick. There's also a problem with having too much overhead, too much expense before you have that exponential run. And then trying to go raise money to get that exponential run, and nobody wants to give you money because you spent all your money in a stupid way because you've had 800 support operators standing by with not enough clients to support. So I think it's about planning ahead as much as we possibly can. It's about putting resources where we believe they will be needed. It's about looking at where we're spending up most of our resources, looking towards automation. We've automated, for example, onboarding, where now about 30 to 40% of all individuals that onboard at CoinMetro are approved or denied automatically by a robot we like to call Lisa. Or we don't like to call Lisa, it's just called Lisa. I don't know. We're looking for the same type of automation in FinOps so that in financial operations, we can also automate lots of the deposit and withdrawal flows. That I think that's one of the main things we're looking at in 2022 is to make sure that our automation outpaces the need for us to hire more people. We will hire more people. We have to hire more people, but we also need to automate. So it's mostly about automation. For me though, especially when it comes to support, I don't want to automate our support reps out of support. We're right now, testing about having these, articles and having the bot kind of handle some of the traffic into support. Then we have people that can't find humans, which is also not a good thing. So there's still some tweaking to be done there, but I like the one-on-one human approach. I think sometimes even if you don't get the best answer or you don't get the answer as fast as you would like, it's still better to get it from a human because you can interact with a human. You can't, even now with all the machine learning and all this other nonsense that we've been working on for decades, you still don't, the Turing test still gets failed almost all the time. You're talking to a robot. So I want to keep that human element there. And so we do need to hire people, but it's also about smart automation. What's your favorite anime? I've never watched an anime in my life. So I can't answer that question. I'm sorry if that means that I've upset like 20% of the community or something at this point. I think somebody asked me about this at one point. I said the same thing. And then I got a bunch of tweets, like DMs and stuff on Telegram that were like, oh man, I'm so disappointed. But yeah, I've never watched anime in my life. I saw like 30 seconds of one and like dude had his eyes open this big and there was like this shaky line up here. And then I was just like, who watches this? And I turned it off. But once you get to a certain age, man, if you weren't introduced to something beforehand, you're never going to get involved. It's just, I don't know what the age is different for everybody. It's also with technology. You ever notice like you might have that real tech savvy uncle. Let's call him like Uncle Fred. Fred was the guy that everybody went to when, like, their Macintosh broke, or their, Motorola M100 phone with a bag battery broke down. But now Fred still has an analog flip phone, because that was it for Fred. That was like the climax of modern technology, and he's done. And so there's a certain age you just stop. If I would have gotten the anime when I was, in my teens or early 20s or something, I'd probably still watch it, but I didn't. So yeah, never going to happen. CM seems to get more clients. We do. You're hiring more? Yeah, pretty much. But the overall trade volume is stagnant at best. Any explanation? Well, I think that's entirely inaccurate, actually. Stagnant. Let's look at some facts and figures. I'm going to start 2 years ago, because I just want to give some super clarity to this. 2 years ago, our daily trading volume was in the single digit thousands, 5,000, 2,000. Yep. This January, our trading volume was in, I think, somewhere of the high double digits, 80, 90,000 something on average per day. Now it's closing in on 5 million. So you can tell me that that's stagnant, and I would say I disagree. Hiring is not going to lead to trade volume. So that really there's no direct correlation. Clients don't also lead directly to trade volume. And trade volume is not the biggest metric by which we need to look at ourselves. If CoinMetro was a trading facility only, trade volume would be, well, the only thing we could look at. We are not, though. In fact, I think at the end of 2022, most of our revenue is going to be derived from non-trading activities. So trading volume is important, but it's not the do-all, end-all for CoinMetro, and it's absolutely not stagnant. If we continue at the same rate of growth that we have this year, you will see 250 million worth of trade volume on a daily basis by the end of next year. Now, that's if we continue on the same clip. I think we may outpace ourselves, to be very honest. And 250 million might still not be as big as some of our competitors, but we will be bigger than we are now by quite leaps and bounds. We've seen tremendous growth in the last 2 years, tremendous growth in the last year. I think we're going to continue on that. But, if you're a client and you're looking at it every day and you see it at, 1 million, 3 million, 4 million, 3 million, 5 million, 3 million, 6 million, you're like, this isn't going anywhere. But it's definitely moved a tremendous amount since the beginning of the year. Morning, sir. In the past, I have asked you about Claris. Have you read about it and perhaps something to say about it? Claris is a decentralized arbitration system for the disputes of the new economy. Still haven't looked at it. Decentralized arbitration service for the disputes of the new economy. Okay. Nothing really new about the new economy, to be honest. Economics is economics. In fact, economics really hasn't changed since kind of the Greeks and Romans, Chinese invented economics. So I'm not sure that, anyway, doesn't really, that line doesn't really perk my interest so much. Decentralized arbitration almost sounds scary to me in many ways. I had this conversation with somebody the other day here at CoinMetro about what happens in the day, like what happens if you could choose to have a robot judge or a human judge. Almost guaranteed, if you choose the robot, you're guilty. Or you're not. You're probably, there's a potential that you're not guilty, because there's evidence that can say you're not guilty. If you choose the human, there's a high probability you are guilty, because you're hoping that you can beat the system. So decentralized arbitration, to me, depending on how it works, sounds like it might not be a great solution, considering that I'm not sure we've really solved decentralization in its entirety. There's a lot of things about decentralization that don't work that well yet. Anyway, I haven't looked into it. Like I said, I probably told you this the last time, but ping me on Telegram, DM me on Telegram, send me a link or something, and I'll try to take a look. Next week, AMA with THT still in play. As far as I know, it is. Yep. Hopefully the team knows how much we all appreciate their hard work and determination to build as fast and efficient as possible. Certainly shows in XCM's year-to-date price. Thanks, Pedro. I think they do. I try to tell them every once in a while. Hey, Mr. Datejust. I guess that's me. I was given information from my minion Musab, video evidence, in fact, that XCM was supposedly reached €1 before end of year. Do you know You do know by this, you will have to organize the €1 party. Hey, Euros. Yep. Well, we've been saying for a long time and I've been saying for a long time, even when XCM fell back down to the 20 cents level just a short time ago, that I still think €1 is on the cards. I still think it's on the cards. Yep. That means we're going to be organizing the €1 party. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be right when it hits a euro. It might be the soon €1 party, but it will happen. So yeah, I still don't know where we're going to do this thing, but we're going to have to figure it out. One CoinMetro store on Backify. That's actually a pretty good question. I don't know. I think we have to. There's actually some updates that'll happen probably in the next few months on the CoinMetro store, and a rebranding along with the rebranding of CoinMetro. And at that point, we will move away from the current structure of the store, and that'll probably allow us to do some cool things like get involved with Backify. So good question, though. What do you think about LTO? Internally, some of our guys had a call with LTO recently and were quite impressed. I wasn't on the call. And I looked at their website, but I have no opinion whatsoever at this point because there's not much information on the website. I got to be honest, I didn't look through like a white paper, yellow paper, green paper, blue paper, pink paper, or anything like that. So there's probably a lot of information there. But I got some good feedback from internally on the team. But yeah, I don't have a personal opinion yet about LTO. When will new XCM staking tokenomics be announced? It's hard holding my breath anymore. Well, Kim, if you've held your breath this long, you should be in the Guinness Book of World Records. Yeah, I think I mentioned this already earlier in the show. January. I think by mid-January we'll have an announcement. Hey, Kevin, nice to see you. Looking forward to see you guys at the €1 party. Same, Alexander. Looking forward to that. Hey, Kevin, it was stated in a voice message last December that revenues went from $3K a month to $40K a month last year. Following the same increase, that would put us around $520 a month. Are we around there? We are higher than $520 a month right now. We are including passive income generation revenue, which we get from running staking programs and the like. We are closing in on the, I think, million per month revenue mark. Obviously, with fluctuations in the assets, contain net flux, et cetera, that could change, but we're getting there. We're probably somewhere around 800,000, 850. So, hey, Kev, how do you think the crypto market is going to react if the Fed actually starts to taper or even raise interest rates next year? Will those countermeasures against inflation hurt crypto? No. I don't necessarily see that happening. They may try to raise interest rates, but I bet you they raise them right back down. Raise them down. Wow, that sounded intelligent. Lower them back down, I should say. Either way, look, this is going to sound funny, but crypto is irrational, but it's also very rational. So it depends on how you look at it. It's rational in the sense that it's proven now, which I have to admit, I thought at one point it wasn't going to prove this element of the fact that it's a hedge against inflation. Now, when we saw COVID originally break out, crypto fell just like everything else. And there was this idea forever that in the event of some type of black swan event, global black swan event, crypto would do really well. And at first it did very badly. And it didn't prove that. And I was the first one. I was one of the first to say, well, look, everybody's been talking about how people should buy Bitcoin or crypto in general to hedge against, general market forces. Doesn't look like it's working. But now I think we've proven that, well, it is a hedge against inflation. That's the rational part. The irrational part is many people put money in crypto to thumb their nose at governments and thumb their nose at the Fed, thumb their nose at, organized government and public public institutions. And so regardless of what they do, that subset of people is going to grow. Especially now, I think people are starting to realize that money is valueless. And you have those assholes, the gold bug assholes, your Peter Schiffs, that say that, when the dollar was tied to gold, somehow it was better. No, it wasn't. It still was valueless because you still need to trust the government. They may have had gold, but they have the gold. You have this valueless piece of paper that says it's backed by gold they own, but they own the gold. So that it doesn't change anything. It's like, it's like holding a tether. You're like, this tether's worth $1. Then when you realize that you have to trust Tether and trust the US dollar and trust the Fed. You don't have to trust like 4 people you absolutely shouldn't be trusting according to your own MO, your own modus operandi here, but you're trusting all of them. And so I think the irrational side is, even if inflation didn't happen, crypto will still do well, because again, when it needs to be rational, it is. And every other time, it's an irrational market. It's a weird thing, which makes it, I guess, overall irrational if we think about it. When THT staking and THT-AMA. THT-AMA, I believe we have tentatively booked next week, and THT staking ASAP. How about that? What's your opinion on BSV? Oh boy. Just BSV, not the whole Craig thing. Well, I'm glad you added that in at the end, because I was going to go off on a tangent about Craig Wright for like 45 minutes. So I appreciate that. That was nice of you to clarify. I don't know if you can separate the two. I know in my rational mind, I should be able to separate the two, and there's no reason to not separate the two. But in my crypto mind, I can't separate them, and thus I don't like BSV for that reason. However, I have seen some of the initiatives they've been trying to do. In fact, I know someone who works with BSV, someone that I would trust, that I don't think went into that lightly. I think they did their own due diligence. The problem is from an outward perspective, I think most people in crypto have that same problem as I do. And so BSV, I think, will become a very nuanced solution for very nuanced industries that have no idea who Craig Wright is. That could be massive, to be honest, but I'm not a huge fan, simply because there's too much uncertainty there for me, specifically because of the Craig thing. In your vision between functionalities of different protocols like KDA scalability, Credo's custodian, PRQ tokenization, how will that fit in all together in one big picture? Hey, hoo-hoo me banana, thanks for the question. I don't know if it has to. If you think about traditional finance, think about the giants of traditional finance. Do they all work together seamlessly? Absolutely not. In fact, most of them don't. Most of them don't even care that they can't work together seamlessly. I mean, just between 2 banks, it usually doesn't work all that seamlessly. I'm sure you guys have heard of SWIFT. That's not seamless. So I'm not sure that's necessary. The great thing is I do think it's possible. So I'll use the 4 or 3 that you gave here and give you an idea. So you have KDA, right? And it is about scalability. It's about other things as well. But you have KDA. You have a protocol. You have an infrastructure that's built to create and move assets cheaply and in real time. Then you have Credo, who's built to custody assets across multiple protocols and allow people to transact without putting their assets at risk. Then you have PRQ, who creates kind of a if this then that type infrastructure, so that you can take data that exists on blockchain, disseminate it, and use it for useful purposes. So imagine a system where Credo, as a custodian, uses KDA or links to KDA as one of those underlying protocols, allows for bridges to be created to all other protocols they're running. PRQ, which can then on KDA, for example, give alerts as to the money movements or the movements across not only KDA, but all other bridge protocols, and use that information to make educated decisions on future price predictions for that asset. So all those things can happen. There's a million other things that can happen, by the way, but all those things can happen even if all three of those companies don't pursue working together. They just end up being things that are used together. It's like Netflix and popcorn. Netflix doesn't make money off of popcorn. They're not like, they're not in the popcorn industry. They should be. But you sit on Netflix, you eat some popcorn. I mean, they kind of go hand in hand. Some people can't watch Netflix without popcorn. Some people can't eat popcorn unless they're watching Netflix. So they work together, but that doesn't necessarily mean they thought that was going to happen, or that was like set in the plan at some point. I believe in QRD tech, but they give the impression of hiding emission investing in yesterday's AMA. How hard is it to write a blog giving monthly increase in supply changes for the next 5 years? It's probably not that hard. Look, I think I think a lot of people, especially in crypto, because of the way the market is, have gotten burned in the past by lack of information. And everybody now is demanding transparency. It's not a bad thing. There's a lot of companies, though, that have gotten burned in the past by releasing too much information because the market treats them badly for releasing that information. There's a lot of people that come from traditional as well that still aren't ready to adopt this open, everybody knows what you're doing at all times type of approach to business. I have to admit, I wasn't ready for it when I came into crypto. I've embraced it since, and I actually do like it at this point, but it's not easy because when you tell people why you make decisions, sometimes they don't, many times they're not going to agree. And even when they do agree, getting all that feedback all the time doesn't necessarily make you a better decision maker, to be honest. So I think they're under a bit of pressure. I think they don't want to say the wrong things. I think they probably have a lot of reasons for not doing that. I think they're also pretty dedicated to make sure that the tokenization and the tokenomics they have are going to grow over time and are going to be adapted into more and more products, very similar to what CoinMetro has been trying to do for years. So, every company, if I have a checklist of how we list things or I invest in things personally, I don't need to have all 22 check marks or all 21 check marks checked. In fact, there may be several that are unchecked. But I think overall, for me at least, I think, Josh might have been a bit diplomatic about some of his answers. But at the end of the day, I think over time they're going to get more transparent because the market's going to force them to. And I think most people that are asking those questions probably understand the answer already. And they're just upset because they're not getting the answer they expect. So yeah, anyway, again, this market is irrational and rational at the same time. Very rational when the questions are asked, somewhat irrational based on what's bought because of the answers that are given. When will you be adding Moongoose coin? I've heard of it going Mongoose coin. I've heard it's going to flip Ethereum. This one I can answer pretty easily. Never. So that's an easy one. They're hurting QRD token with non-transparency. If you have any influence, give them an advice to get full details, not transparency through obscurity, as in AMA. Well, I think it's a bit more complex than that. I don't think it's that they don't want to be transparent. You got to understand that they're probably they've raised money. They probably have VC investors behind them. They're probably looking to do lots of things, and traditional is still traditional. And when, to get something like Credo, which is not built on traditional finance, but definitely taking some cues from traditional finance to build a more innovative infrastructure. Traditional finance is embedded in there from the people, from the investors, et cetera. And so there's going to be pushback on both sides. I think at the end of the day, though, you will get that transparency. Coinbase talked about integrating Ledger for self-custody. Would this also be an option for CoinMetro? I don't know necessarily look, I had a conversation with Ledger just about 4 years ago, where I told them they need to look at non-custodial deposits. This is after the two people I was talking to told me all the experience they had in traditional finance, and they had no idea what I was talking about. When I explained it, they asked me, well, why would anybody want that? And I kind of hung up the phone after that. If they've now gone down that road, then yes, I do think so. I do think services of something like Credo as well, again, non-custodial deposits on a centralized exchange, is something I want to do. That might be through Ledger, it might be through some other hardware wallet, it could be through something like Credo, or all of the above. Hi, Kevin. I have questions about Hedera, your thoughts, and do you plan to list it? Hedera is probably going to get listed at some point. I think they're doing some interesting things. I think they will be involved in these protocol wars I've been talking about. I don't own any Hedera as of yet, but I have seen it on a few short lists here at CoinMetro, and I do think it is going to be one that we do list. Right now, we're focusing a lot on ERC20 and/or tokens that exist on other protocols like Cadena, et cetera, that we already have mapped on the platform. But eventually, we are going to get to mainnets, and Hedera is one of those. Hey, how are you? Can non-custodial trading work without compromising speed and fees? Yes. Absolutely. Will CM support one of the Ethereum compatible DLTs like Avalanche? It depends. It depends. If we can find other solutions that are better than just, one of these compatible DLTs, then maybe not. But eventually, yes, especially just for withdrawal options, we will probably support one or more of them in the future. I think also part of that equation, Harold, might be just wrapped assets on something like Cadena. Possible Credo staking in CoinMetro. Yep, that's definitely a possibility. It's on a list. It's on one of the many lists. But yeah, definitely. Lanceria is a small and relatively cheap crypto, but with a pretty huge project. That's why I asked. Okay, I thought it was maybe lenceria. If they changed that A to an E, that means lingerie in Spanish. Somebody didn't do enough research on their company name before they released it. Yeah, I've never heard of them, actually. It doesn't mean much. Just because I didn't hear of it doesn't really mean anything, to be honest. I would say, with micro caps, invest what you can afford to lose. Take out your initial investment as soon as you see some type of return. Let the rest ride. Good strategy. Going to start an account on CoinMetro, but I'm wondering about the safety compared to Binance. How safe is it compared to Binance? I can't tell you how safe Binance is. I think from many aspects in terms of how we operate our business, we are entirely safer than Binance is. And that's simply because we do things the right way, everything from onboarding our clients to dealing with regulators, et cetera. That goes a long way. That can be a huge risk factor. If the regulators were to come in and, have an issue with what we do or what Binance does, they can freeze all assets, and they can do that for a long time and lock people out of their accounts, which is a huge safety problem. And I think we do that much better than someone like Binance. However, when you talk about just clear, like I said, I don't know. I can't talk about Binance's cybersecurity policies. What I can say is we did have an incident in October of last year. That incident involved a workplace workstation. It involved someone getting access to that workstation, and they were able to make some withdrawals off the platform. We put everybody whole, meaning that we covered the loss 100%. We also made an extensive amount of changes and upgrades to our own ecosystem. We use custody providers like BitGo. Very soon we'll be using someone like Fireblocks, Credo as well. And we have our own Ether wallet system, which is multi-sig. We keep a very small amount. Percentage-wise, it's like 0.1% of assets under management inside of hot wallets. An extremely small percent. We've created a hybrid system that allows us to be able to maintain operational fluidity, even with keeping such small amount of assets in hot wallets. We have a warm wallet and cold wallet and mini warm wallet system that we've devised so that only specific people in the company have access to be able to move assets. They're all multi-sig. They all have some form of multiple signature technology built into them. We have access rights. We have all kinds of things. No one can access our platform now without a VPN. There's no whitelisted IP addresses. You need access to the VPN, which has 2FA on it. Once you get into the system, it's another 2FA to get in. You also have to sign with 2FA, and sometimes in some cases 3FA, all transactions. Most of the transactions on the platform are still not automated, at least not the bigger transactions. Thus, they need 4i approval, in some cases 6i approval. So we have a pretty safe system. That doesn't mean we are constantly trying to improve that safety along with maintaining operational fluidity. Hello, Kev from New York City. Sucks. New York is so restricted. Wanted to ask what makes CoinMetro better than the rest. Hey, DJ Mavstar. Nice to see you here. Yep. Well, the bit license. I got to say, though, the bit license is pretty impressive. So New York isn't necessarily the worst state because of it. But yes, it makes it difficult for smaller companies to service New York. I think a lot of things separate us. We have a lot of USPs that I think nobody focuses on. But one that I like to talk about a lot is just customer experience. And that doesn't necessarily just mean UI, UX, or user interface and user experience in terms of design, which I think we are improving on constantly, but I think we're getting to be one of the best in the industry by far. But customer experience as in, dealing with customer support. I've heard many horror stories about having to contact Coinbase, contact Binance, contact Huobi, contact Bittrex, contact Bitfinex, etc., and take weeks, if not months, to get a response. We generally respond within minutes. It's a real person. I do AMAs every week. I respond to clients myself, small, large, medium-sized clients. I never ask their account balance before I help them. And we have many people in Telegram that do the same that work for the company. We are all about making sure that we treat everybody, the same here, that everybody has access to these great tools to generate wealth. And it's not just about a select few. And I think that's separate. I think it's our mentality and how we deal with our clients, how we operate our business separates us. The fact as well that we're creating this holistic platform. And yes, there are other platforms, Binance even as well, that has a lot of different products, but we focus on unique products. We have things that you can't get anywhere else. And because of that, we're able to service them in a very unique way. Something like KDA staking, for example, Flux staking, THT that will be coming soon, et cetera. The only place you can do it, you don't need to have the know-how. You don't have to operate nodes. You don't have to have the cost to do that. And it's just nice and easy. I think we're kind of, we treat people like people. And that may seem like a small USP for a fintech company, but I think it's absolutely, absolutely important. CoinMetro should be available to New York City residents. Like, come on. Yeah. Well, you do have one of the most popular metros. But it's a fun fact, Metro and CoinMetro actually originally meant metropolis, as in city. But New York is also one of the most famous cities. So I would agree with that comment. Parsec being such a great project, when are you going to start focusing on marketing and getting the word out? When are they? Sorry. I think they have to a certain extent. They definitely had a run up earlier this year in terms of price action. That was driven a lot by Parsec getting talked about in lots of different media. I think you will probably see them start to do something similar earlier next year. I think they, look, it's one thing focusing on, your token price, focusing on your awareness. They also have a business and services to sell. And I know they've been actively onboarding new clients. So I think they are, but, things come with time. There's a right place and right time. And sometimes, it's a bit of a, I would say, non-exact science on when to do these type of things. But I do believe you're going to see more and more of them going into next year. Yeah, guys, if you're watching, thank you, Jens. If you're watching, thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, wherever you might be watching us from. It's only going to help us get more awareness. It's only going to help me answer questions better. I'm not really sure how that works, but I'm sure that's true. Fantastic timing, great AMA with Credo. Hi, CM gang. How guys? How are you? Hi, Jack. How are you? I haven't seen you in a while, Jack. Jack, we gotta like get together again. I'm missing some of that food, man. Seriously. Do you think about Parsec's team? Do you think about Parsec's team for creating IQ token just for governance? Was it necessary? I have my own, thoughts about that. I think it may have taken. We're talking specifically about. They have this governance token. IQ is a protocol, so I think it's okay to have a governance token. I think the PRQB that came out at some point to help with liquidity providers on Uniswap, that one I think might have taken a bit of awareness away from PRQ, which I think might have been, in hindsight, a mistake. Let's admit, it might have not been the best way to go about it. But I think having a governance token on top of a protocol is not a bad thing. In fact, it's a huge utility depending on what type of governance the users have over the protocol. If you started seeing them again, what would you have done differently? I probably would have raised the money a bit sooner and then sat on it a bit longer in terms of crypto. Sat through the bear market, or would have started later. Like would have fundraised, at the bottom of the bear market. It's an easy question to answer, and it's also hard. Because if you've ever seen or heard, if you ever heard of this theory of the butterfly effect, so any small change you make can completely in the past can completely change the future, yeah, and in ways you cannot imagine. And so, if I can tell you some easy ones, would have cashed out crypto sooner, would have focused more on maybe tokenomics right from the beginning, would have launched different types of products first. The problem is that those things sound good and look correct in hindsight. But if we actually did those things, we might be in the same position or a worse position than we are right now. So I think everything generally happens, not necessarily for a reason, but it happens. Once it's done, it's done. I think placating the past doesn't give you a brighter future. You should learn from your past, for sure. But going back and rehashing to figure out what you could have done better is kind of a losing game in the beginning. So based on the data we have now, I would think that doing certain things differently might make a difference, but probably not for the better. That's how things potentially could work. The new beta exchange, very nice, clean colors, but how do you keep our drawing lines in place the next day? We wish to see our drawing lines are in place. Templates. I think you can create templates. That's a trading view thing. I believe you can create templates and save the template on the chart. And that's how you see them the next day you log in. Have you ever started a business company that failed? Failed. Well, it depends how you define failed. I failed at lots of stuff. That's for sure. And yeah, I guess, so I started a bar restaurant in Mexico back in the day, and did everything I could to make sure we were going to have enough business, had a bunch of contracts with a bunch of spring break companies. And then the US president famously made it illegal to travel without a passport to Mexico. Previously, US citizens could travel to Mexico, Canada, and some islands with just a birth certificate and a driver's license. And when he did that, instead of getting 80,000 students, we got 4,000 students. And funny enough, right after that, they allowed people back in without passports till the end of the year. But it destroyed that business. And so, yeah, I think I invested a couple $100,000 into that and ended up with zero. So that definitely failed. That was an absolute failure. I've had other businesses that I had a goal, never reached the goal, but sold out and generally didn't lose money, but lost time maybe. So, yeah, I think I depending on how you define failure, sure, I've had a few of them. But I've never met anyone that has any level of success in life that hasn't had a few failures. Failures are important, I think. The only thing is you have to make sure you fail quick. Failing slow is a horrible place to be in. So always try to fail quick and fail young. You know, having a failed business at 65, I can guarantee is a whole different ball of wax than failing when you're 22. That's for sure. What do you think will be the main revenue source for CoinMetro? Passive income, 100%. Passive income will be our main revenue source by an extreme amount in 2022. When IQ protocol, once IQ protocol is just not on BSC, comes down to some other platforms, other protocols, we will look to integrate it. We're just over the hour mark. This might be the last question. Onboarding fiat from UK today was so fast. Wow, well done. Was super fast. With the Euro bank to our bank was also super fast. Well done. I think every week Jack tells us how fast you can. I appreciate it, Jack, because now everybody knows how fast our fiat on-ramp is, which is also, by the way, one of those other questions about USPs. I think we have one of the best fiat on-ramps in the business for euro and pounds and US dollars, to be honest. So that's definitely a USP, making clients' lives easier. I'm going to end with this one because I think a lot of people have this question, and this is a good one maybe to end on. Is there a way to improve the spread and liquidity on CoinMetro? My buys move the price up and down a lot for some coins, even one as large as Cadena. So first thing I would like to say, no matter how liquid an asset is, never use market orders unless you have to. I don't care what market you're trading in, equity, stocks, bonds. You're buying Tesla stock. Don't market buy it. All you do, what you're telling the market when you use a market order is fill me at any price. I don't care. That's literally, if you broke down the code that goes over the fixed connection that you send, that's literally what it says. It says, here's a blank check. Just do whatever you want. Don't ever do that. Always use limit orders. Limit orders are telling the market, I want this price or better. It's you negotiating with the market. Always negotiate. Don't, buy wholesale. Don't buy retail. Having said that, liquidity is dynamic. Liquidity providers are dynamic. The more clients we have, the more orders go into the book. Obviously increases over time. But the liquidity providers we have are dynamic, and they refill very, very fast without even talking about how dynamic they can expand. In the beginning of the year, we had the same liquidity providers, and we were doing under 100K in volume per day. Those same liquidity providers now provide enough liquidity for roughly 5 million a day. And they'll provide more liquidity when it's 250 million and $1 billion a day. It's dynamic, but you can't actually use dynamic liquidity when you use market orders. You have to use limit orders. Set that limit order. You can even set limit orders inside the spread. They will immediately fill, but you're guaranteed not to get a worse price. Limit order, limit order, limit order. No matter how much liquidity we get over time, and our liquidity will continue to grow just as our volume is going to grow. Don't make the mistake of using market orders. Only when you have to. And I mean when you need to exit a position because you're about to just get wrecked or whatever, but don't ever enter the market if you don't have to on a market order. That's it. I'm going to end it there. Great questions, everybody. I really do appreciate it. It is Friday. which is amazing. We're getting close to the holidays as well. So maybe you don't want to spend time with friends and family this week. You're probably going to see them over the next couple of weeks, and you might just get super annoyed because you're going to see them every day. But if you have friends and family you actually like to talk to on a regular basis, make sure you spend some time with them this weekend, either in person or virtually over Zoom, or I don't know, whatever anybody else uses. Zoom. What else we got? We got Meetup. We got does anybody use Skype anymore? Jesus Christ, Skype. As soon as Microsoft bought it, forget it. Stop using Skype. Anyway, as you're talking to these people over Skype, or Zoom, make sure you type into the chat that people don't necessarily read until the end, or something they don't notice. Just write by. Just keep writing by XCM, clicking away on your keyboard until somebody notices. They might think you're crazy, but just let them know that everybody that's ever been successful in life is a little bit crazy. So. Have a great weekend. Lift somebody's spirits. Buy them some XCM. See you guys here next week, next Friday, and see you guys in Telegram over the weekend. You can tag me on Telegram or DM me on Telegram at Kevin Murcko. You can tweet me at Kevin Murcko. And let's see what I get tweeted and DM'd. Maybe it'll be interesting. And have a great weekend.